Welcome back to Tr6 Parts. Today's video, Tr6 engine build. Again, now you're probably saying, oh, not another Tr6 engine build. Oh, something in then, do something different. Well, actually, it's unfortunate the way it is we get this, but there is a bit of a story to this car. How many people have turned around and say, hey, the original owner still owns this car? Well, this one is. So this is, to me, a bit special because I've gotten close, but now I actually have been given, and I appreciate the people who come to us at Tr6 Parts, the opportunity to work on an original owner's car. Yes, the person who owns this car bought a brand new in 1976 and is still the owner. So there's not many of them out there, but original owners are still out there for now. I say that because time is against all of us. Let's face it, it is what it is. This was interesting. There's a funny story behind this because he actually bought the car by accident. So, say the story short, driving from point A to point B in the US, and you're going through a mountain range, and the Toyota he has, which was a 70 or 71, kept breaking down, to say the word, because the fuel system was freezing. It was getting too cold. It was chugging. You'd have to wait, let it warm up, and then start again. It was getting too cold. It seemed to be a bit of a common problem with them cars. He pulled into a garage on the way, and they had the part to fix it, and it was going to cost X amount to fix. However, while he was there saying, okay, well, I might go with that, he happened to turn around and see this car, because they were a dealership, and he had the brand new car, so he inquired about it. And if I'm correct on numbers, in 1976, this car was actually $4,600. Now, I'm not fully sure if that was US dollars. May or may not be. Because I can't remember what mountain range he was going through, so I'm not sure if it was here in Canada or in the US. I know, start with the story, I don't know all the full details. But he just said and looked and said, well, instead of spending a couple of hundred just getting this repaired, he actually traded it in on the spot and bought this car. So he left and bought the car with no intentions of going out and buying the car, and bought a 76 Tr6, and he's had it to this day. So, why is it here? Why are you getting an engine build? Well, there's actually nothing wrong with it. It actually still drives and everything. He just hasn't turned it over and drove it in about somewhere between maybe 5 and 10 years, so he says. It's been set in the garage for a fair bit, hence why it's all dusty and greasy. But other than that, hasn't been touched. It's literally original. So it's my understanding that the seats are all, you haven't been reupholstered. Nothing has been done to it. He literally bought it and has never had a problem. Other than, don't get me wrong, there's chips everywhere in it. In the way of the paint. I don't think it's being repainted, he never mentioned that. So as far as I'm concerned, this is pretty as close to original as you can get without boxing it up. There's not too many miles on it, and everything is exactly as it should have been in 76. So where are we going with this? Are we going to keep it absolutely the way it is? So most of the way. We are going to do the engine build. I will, as usual, remove some of the emission stuff because it's only problem causing. Nothing that can't be undone, and again we're going to upgrade it with the aluminium rad and the electric fan, just because he actually lives in downtown Toronto, and it's, to be honest, sitting still in these things now with all this traffic, it's not very helpful for it, because we know how you like to overheat. Other than that, we're going to get a new wiring harness. Does it need it? Has it ever been tampered with? No, but like anything, the wiring harnesses, after so long, they do break down, they get used, they heat up, they cool down, and eventually wiring harnesses should get replaced after so many years, especially 60. What else are we doing? We'll put a new windscreen in. Obviously, it's not cracked or anything, but he just wants to freshen the car up and keep it on the road, and again, hopefully pass down to a family member. But that's what most people like to do. Yeah, it's going to be interesting only because like everything's original, and it's proud for me because, like I said, this is one of the first cars I've received that is the original owner, and that's a big deal for me because it's their one. They have a brand new. They didn't just pick it up. Well, technically he did. So yeah, and we're going to look after it and make sure it goes and lasts for another 56 years. So, I have my little helper with me behind the camera here, and she'll be helping me in some of the videos, do some of the work. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to throw it onto some high speed as usual, while we remove the bonnet, remove all the grill, and start preparing it to get the engine out. Now, obviously, it's late in the afternoon, it's dark, hence all the lights are on. But I'm just going to get a bit of a start on it and actually get it ready, so tomorrow I can start on doing it and actually get it out and get ready to send it to the machine shop. So yeah, without further ado, let's get cracking. roll on some high speed. All right, so we have the bonnet off. My amazing helper. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sassy. Okay, so we have this off, and as you can see, it is pretty original. Well, I say pretty original. I won't say probably 90% of it. I'm sure over time he's gotten, you see, new leads put on, because I'm pretty sure they were in factory. Probably a coil. I know that the alternator's never been changed. The carbs have never been done. The plumbing has never been touched. The distributor, probably not. I've never seen that colour cap. So I'm just wondering, is it possible that's the original cap that came with the car? I don't remember them being that colour, but I can only go with what I'm sure every other car we've seen at some point has been changed. So like, how much of this is actually factory? There is an unusual fuel filter down here, that's for sure. It's squared. Again, I don't know, was it that from factory? I don't know. Because this car is such a time warp and it was bought brand new and the one owner has had it and said he's literally done more or less nothing with it, I presume, other than service, and I have to take it that it's the factory one, but you never know. So where are we going with this? Well, obviously it'd be nice to keep it the way it is based on the fact that people like to keep it original and it being the original owner. Actually, on that note, before I forget, I did say this was a 76, but that's a lie. It's actually a 74. Now, he told me it was in 1976 when you went by and actually got this car. There's always a possibility you got the years mixed up, or it was probably commissioned in 74, but the time it actually got there, it could have been into 75, and it was sitting there in the lot for a year, and it basically, he got it when, well, after being sitting there. So I'm still under the illusion that it is. He bought it in 76, brand new, but as you can see with the commission plate, it was actually commissioned in July 74. So, yeah, so that goes to show the difference between, and that's no different in vehicles you sit in the lots now. You say they're brand new, but you could have been sitting there for 2 or 3 years before you sell it, but it's still brand new. Anyway, let's have a look at this dashboard. All original. This is original from factory, from when you first bought it, brand new. So, and it's never been touched. It is, to say the word, not immaculate, but like, it is good. It's just worn over time, but yeah. Everything else in here should be original, like obviously the seat belts, the carpet, all that jazz. And that's one thing we're going to change, is the seat belts, because as much as it doesn't seem anything wrong with these, after 60 years, the tension and everything wears down. It's for safety. They'd rather have new belts. Now again, we'll keep them just in case, because as usual, people like to keep stuff original. But yeah, it's quite the time warp. It's amazing, because I've seen cars that look like this and they've been altered 2 or 3 times, and this, by right, as far as I'm aware, is exactly as it was in the rollout in 76, and these are all the original parts. That's pretty cool, because that's the way we like to keep the cars, is actually keep them original. Now, going back to the engine bay, again, when we do the work on this, I'd like to get rid of the ERG and the plumbing and all this jazz up here, and just go back to a basic system, which we probably will end up doing, but again, it's nothing that cannot be put back. And you see there's already a little screw in it. Somebody's already changed it a bit. But like, I don't think it's necessary in modern day, especially because he lives down in Toronto. We want to have the electric fan. I want to have electronic ignition just because it's easy to run with. and that means I'd rather cut all that mess out, because it was never a good system anyway. But we'll keep it aside in the event that if anybody ever wants to restore it back to original, that can be done. But again, there's no parts that can't be got. Like, we can get all these, the anti-spark and all that. You can put it back if you want. What we're also looking at doing obviously is the brakes, because the fluid in here, I had a look at it, it's not too bad. Like, I've seen it way brown, considering, like, I don't know when the last time we got the brakes done or got it topped up, but we want to change all that and actually put nice fresh in it, because it should be clear. Same as your fuel. It should be like crystal clear. I'm not saying water crystal clear, but pretty clear. Once it starts getting brown, you know it's sediment. This is worn down, or the modern people would say burnt. It's just been used so many times. Plus, don't get me wrong, I can guarantee there's a bit of like rust between the brakes that's getting in there and changing the colour. So we want to flush it right out and put some fresh stuff in there. Same as the clutch as well, while it's out. The fuel filter is a little odd, because I had a look at this and I thought actually it was the unit to check the mileage for service. But it's actually on the fuel line, is it? Yeah, it's from the fuel pump. Just before the fuel pump, it goes through this. That's unusual. I've never seen a square one. I don't know if that's factory. The same as the distributor. An orange cap. Was that the factory one? They've never ever changed it? I don't know. Possibly. I wonder if the distributor obviously has never been changed. But only because, again, because he's the original owner, now I can look at stuff and say, what did they really have when they physically left the factory? But some of the telltale cells of the engine show you what's going on. So, for example, here's clean, and you get this here, this rust here. So is it coming off this pipe? Is it blown out here, or is it blown out from between? So that's why I want to get rid of this system. The less that's in the leak, the better. And that can make a difference in how the car runs. And I think he said that's the way I was going. The car always ran good, but I was slowly starting to, how to say, not chug along, but you could feel the performance obviously going over, well, after 60 years, what do you expect? But just, I mean, now he said, I just want to go get it redone. So that's what we'll do. We'll change the system and make it run absolutely beautiful. And ideally get rid of some of the unnecessary stuff. So, yeah, that's it. So on the next, when we come back, because obviously it's late at night here, we are going to jack the car up and we'll start draining all the fluids over from the rad, the oil and all that jazz, and get ready to start actually stripping all the components off and disassembling from the gearbox to get the engine out. So, yeah. Anyway, good job. Thank you. Look, cover her up. Look, she's not here.
Yeah.
Look, not here. Can't see it. I actually have the camera on the TV there so I can see where I am. She's looking at herself. But my helper here, great, another addition to the Plan 6 Parts crew. 2.1, yeah. Yeah, that's it. So, join me next part and we'll start stripping more of the engine. So, in this case, see you in a bit. Alright, so we're plugging away here. So I have the oil pretty much drained. The coolant is still drained away there. I don't know if you can hear, most likely not. It's dribbling out, so and I just drank a lot of liquid beforehand, so that sound. Anyway, yeah, so there's a few things with this. Obviously the first thing is the car always has a 74, and I did make a mistake. He actually purchased it in 1974. For some reason I was convinced he purchased it in 76 or 74. So yes, he bought this the year it came out, so it's brand spanking new when he bought it, and he's had it since. So again, it's a credit that we have a single owner vehicle. We don't get many of them, and it's nice to see that they're still out there. Moving on to the car itself, what I'm going to do is when we start taking it off is we're going to get rid of the plumbing. And I know some people will have their opinion to say, well, no, it's all original, you have to keep it original. Some people say upgrade it. Everybody has their own opinion, and I've always said that. an opinion is just an opinion. At the end of the day, whoever owns the vehicle, it's their choice at the end of the day what you want to do with it. And so what we've decided to do, and don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to butcher any of the cars, that's for sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all that system and basically run it like a 73. We're going to just remove all this and run it that way because I think that was the best years to have it. Obviously there's a little bit more power in the early ones, but we're going to run it like a 73, get rid of that. But we're not casting it aside and saying that's it, it's done forever. We'll put it into a box, it'll be kept with the car, and if it ever moves on, it can always be put back in. So all the original components be kept. So we'll do whole holes, all this, all the components for the original plumbing, as the way it should be, will be kept as is. And we'll keep photographs of the way it's meant to be laid out. And as I said, we're going to go to electronic ignition so we can block these, but we're not removing them. We are going to remove the ERG, but again, it's going to be removed, not broken off and welded like you see in some people. You can just plug the hole with a bolt if you actually go look and get the size bolt. So that's what we're going to do, and again, that be kept to the side and kept in the event that people want to restore it back to originals. Yeah, other than that, I got a bit more history on the car. Like some of the stuff has been changed. Like I think the radiator hose has been changed at one stage and so on. So that should be okay. However, we will have to change some pieces. I think the bottom was a little brittle, and we'll obviously have to change his top hose because this here for the emissions and the to be honest, I don't even know what that's supposed. It's too much plumbing. I know it's to do with letting air around, and like, I know there's the other one for the advance and all that so on, but like, or the retard. It's just too much in it. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I think it went overkill. There's anti-sparks everywhere. Just, I don't know. It's too much. I don't think we need it, so we're going to get rid of it. Anyway, that's it. So I'm going to keep plugging away and start to remove stuff. I'm going to get the carbs off and get this out, and enough that I can start getting the rad out. And once I get the rad out, it actually comes along pretty quick because I work my way from the front backwards. Yeah, so my set of spanners, because as I said, I like to use just spanners and not power tools ideally, because not everybody has power tools. So if you ever wonder why you see me using drills all the time and what a lot of people use, because not everybody has them. And I try to keep it back that when you're done, you use these when you first use them. Some people only have these, and I want to show it can be done using these, and that's how I do it. Yes, we do need a torsion wrench, and an impact gun is ideal for the wheels, not necessary in the way. But other than that, I keep it basic to just spanners and a ratchet, and that's how I operate. Anyway, so other than that, let's keep plugging away and keep stripping it down. So roll on some more high speeds. Alright, so plugging away here. Now, if many of you know, you'll know I hate silicone engines. And I'll give you an idea. Look at that. That's the thermostat. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So that is how the thermostat is in this car. You say that's right. You wonder what the silicone. I did find some silicone on it. Obviously, I know I'm going to find it elsewhere. And that's later. That's not factory. That's been later than the thing. Most of the bolts are coming out okay. The ERG is a little seized. So I might have to remove that when I get the engine block out. So when it comes out, I'll do that. Same as down here. I'm not expecting them to be easy to come out, but I'm hoping you do. So that's a big factor in getting the engine out, is getting the exhaust manifold out. Once you get that out, it really opens up. Take the rest of the hose out, then we can start clambering away, getting down here. Now the anti-spark down here is a bit of a nightmare. It's meant to actually twist and pop out, but it's a little rusted in there, and it makes it hard to get to that bolt that's actually right below it. So if you can see, the other side of the radiator, the bolt is here. And you actually normally go through this, but that just rotates and pops out, and getting to it is a little hard. Obviously the fuel line was as brittle as you can get, and the bolt here for the water pump housing I can't get off at all. So I gave it a good crank and it didn't come off, so I'm going to have to get something bigger. I just didn't want to really get at it. I'll most likely wait, and I will, if I can't get it off, I'll take it off and I'll take the engine out. I'll heat it up and I'll get it out that way, because the last thing I want to do is snap it. And that's a huge thing. But it's not coming out now with that amount of pressure. It's really stuck in there. So, and that can be the good thing and bad thing about a car that's set for so long. You think everything will come out pretty easy. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But it's slowly starting to get awful bare in there. Slowly getting there. So, yeah. Alright, I'll continue on. I'm going to start getting the alternator off and the radiator and everything out. And plug away. And obviously the brace has to come out. So I'm planning to try get as pretty much close to almost everything I can get before I bring the engine crane in. And then when I get that in, I can remove these, the engine stands or the engine mounts. Once they're removed and it's holding with the crane, I can then lower it down, and that will expose all the nuts and bolts of the back, and I'll go underneath and I'll start taking them all out. This hose here I will end up taking off. It's sort of in the way. Just right now I left it. It is getting a new wiring harness. So again, it doesn't mean I'm going to rip and tear the thing apart and try to disassemble it as best I can. Same as the battery, that's going to come out. I like to disassemble stuff. So anyway, the leaf blower is kicking around out there, because obviously the trees are shedding, because it's now almost, it's starting November, so the trees are shredding. Anyway, shredding, you hear me? Okay, well, rolling some more high speeds. Alright, so we're plugging away here. As you have figured out by now, I already made a few mistakes in the way that I was convinced that this was a 76 and it was actually 74. You bought it in 74. And at some point there was a conversation that this did get painted, which I obviously didn't hear or I forgot about, went over my head somehow. And yeah, so it was repainted at some stage. So that's my fault. But as I said, nevertheless. So we're still moving on, and you can see by that's still, I left that there, just I don't know why I left it there. Some of the bolts are snapping, which they shouldn't do, considering the car hasn't been outside or left. I expected a lot of the bolts to not be shearing. So I just went and took the bolts off the bottom of the exhaust manifold, and 3 of them came off fine, but one decided I wanted to shear. So it is what it is. I'd be mindful that can happen. So, but we're getting there. We're almost done. We're getting to the point that I can actually almost, once I get this off, I can actually then get the engine crane in. Apart from the fuel line, I can really get the engine crane in and start getting the engine mounts off, and then that will allow me at that point to start getting to the gearbox and to unbolt that. The other thing what I have to do, and it's important we do this, and you can tell, and I've said this before, when an engine is being out of a car, or the engine is being lifted in a Tr6, is the throttle bar. You'll see a bend on it. That means somebody had lifted the engine while that's still in, and the gearbox has caught it and raised it and just simply bent it. So, if you ever see, that's pretty loose actually. That bolt is pretty loose, and that could have left to some gas is escaping. So if you ever see that where it's bent, you know at some point the engine is being out, or they've lifted the engine into the air to do something. and never disconnected the throttle the shaft. And it's actually very easy to do. You don't have to touch any of this. In the inside is actually just a split pin. And when you remove the split pin, there's a washer. You take the washer off and it actually slides all the way in. So it's just hidden behind the carpet in the passenger footwell. But it's a huge thing to do. Because if you don't do it, you struggle so bad to get the engine out because it gets stuck and wedged. Whether you're taking the whole lot or not. It's just get it up and then you can actually move it all the way across. So now to see if this unbolts. I'll see how fixed it is to the manifold of the exhaust. There we go, that wasn't too bad. So it's pretty black. And it's black down at this end and not at this end. So it's giving me an indication, I don't know if you can see this. Rusty, and then how black it is here. So it gives you an idea of what I'm going to expect when I crack the engine. I'm expecting to see some oil or blackness. Even the engine block, you can see it. It's all black here, so I don't know. I know we said he never had the engine out. So I just wondering, is this the point where it was starting to leak all of the way around? Like I said, when we take it out we'll know for certain. But it gives you a bit of telltale sign of what's coming up. So for now, what else I've left to do? Apart from all the wire in the way, I'm going to disconnect this. Then I can disconnect the starter motor and I'll start taking this pipe off. And then I'm going to, once I get them connected, I can actually get the engine crane on it to hold it. Because other than the fuel line, everything else on the far side is disconnected. And I don't have to take the wiring out now. As much as we're doing the wiring harness, I don't have to take it out right now. I just want to get the engine block out, because once it's out, it just makes it a lot easier to take the wiring out, feed the wiring through when that's not in there, because it's just one less thing in the way. You'd be surprised, because it gets in the way sort of everywhere. Yeah, even the battery doesn't have to come out, but sometimes it can be a bit of a, not a nice or a bit of a distraction to get in the way. So, alright, let's plug on a bit more, and I'm going to start getting these connected, and I'll get the engine crane in, so we're going to start getting the engine mount off. So, let's keep going. More high speed. Alright, so we're actually ready to take the engine out. So what I done was I held it on the engine crane and I removed the engine mounts. And once they're off, then it allows me to actually lift the engine up and down and start taking off all the bolts that hold it to the gearbox. Now that's off, it automatically wants to separate, which it does. And now I want to take it out. Here's the hard part. Taking it out is easy. Separating it is easy. Getting it to fit past the steering rack is the hard part. Ideally what we want is we want the damper off. We want to get this damper off, and it allows it to actually go forward and come out pretty easily. However, getting the damper off is easier said than done, because we have to give it enough room to actually get by. So, usually what I'll do is, I just took the front part off. I'll usually get behind it and slip the damper out. It's pretty loose in there if you want to go. So, but I need to find literally a whole inch. I need to be able to find this thing to move back an entire inch. And because it's bolted in, that's not easy. So, here's where we have to wrestle with it a bit. We're going to wrestle to push it back, lift it into the air and push it back enough to get that damper off. And once that damper's off, the engine will pop out and come out no problem. Pulling it in is actually not too bad. It's just, again, getting that damper on, because there's physically not enough room to do it. So this is the hardest part about getting the engine out, is getting that out. Now, the more you put it into the air, the more of an angle it goes at and the less room you actually have. So like, it's a bit of, you can only go up so far, and this is where we're going to play with it. And you can only raise it so far in order to allow the damper to actually come out. Because if I pull it, let's say I'm going to take it up all the way as far as I can get it. Okay, that's probably as far as I can pull on it. And if you can see, we still have quite a lot of room to go. There's no room there whatsoever. So the end has to go back. But if you look, we're still short the distance of it. So like, this is where playing around with it comes into frustration. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the large pry bar. I'm going to try to force it back enough to be able to get that off from the top and almost take the top end first and wiggle it out. So let's go get the big bar. So the big pry bar is the big size one. I normally go to the same point. I normally go over here, or I will put it on this side and push against the water pump to do it. Now I go usually it's the water pump side because I have to find that space for it to go back. This is not an easy task. It's not, because it's, you almost want one person really forcing the engine back. Woo. It's not easy. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower it a bit to try give it a bit more room because it's at an angle. I'm saying if you go up all the way, if you bring it down a tad, just enough to keep it straight. I'm going to move the camera. We should be able to get enough room to. This is the problem, because now I'll try a different one because something's popped into me here. I wonder if I can lift it any further when I jack it up. Funny enough, I always find it easier once I'm pulling it back in to actually get it in. So I'm just wondering if I can try it. I'm able to do this. This might actually work. I have a new technique. Might. If I can get enough of a leverage on it. Just have to gain it another tiny bit. It's just, I'm just running out of room here. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh no! No, there's another fraction. No way. There we go. Now, that seemed a bit odd, but in reality, I've never done it that way. That's a new way. I almost remember that now. Let me show you, because it sounded like, it looked like I was breaking it, but it wasn't actually. I still actually have play in here. It's not all the way up. So it wasn't actually touching there. But I was able to bend it up. I never thought about it that way. I always try to push it backwards. There's a new way of doing it. I discovered it by accident. Alright, so now that's out. Here comes the easy part. Is moving it forward. Now, in saying that as well, if you have the engine crane facing this direction, it actually will want to move a tiny bit more. Not saying it can, but maybe that's why I normally get it in, because I used to normally load it front ways. I'm actually sideways because I don't have the room in front. So if it's sideways, the engine crane is not going to shift. So that can be part of it as well. So now what we'll do is I will pull it back down again, lower it down. I want to keep it now ideally straight. As straight as I can, enough that I can actually separate it now completely from the gearbox. And again, this seems usually comes out quicker than this, and I'm going to say the position of the engine crane being sideways has a lot to do with it. So I'm going to push it forward. Usually pops out pretty quick after this, usually pops and out it comes. The straighter you have this, the easier it is. And I don't exactly have a straight. This should actually, there we go. So, I just needed to get it, and I'll see down here where the engine just goes over this. That's obviously the main part to get to it. And now she's free. She can come in. So now it's where I move the engine free. That's just the clutch actually just tipping off the gearbox at the back again because of the way the engine crane is. So I think going forward I'll try to prevent putting it on from the side. So I'm going to put it back in, obviously I'm going to have to make more room and push the car back and try to get to the front of it. Enough to get it on the side. Another part I hate. If any of you own engine cranes, you'll realise how awkward it is to move them. Because you don't want to go where you want them to go. And I'm going to watch out because it's going right around the axle stand. There we go. Clear it. Come on then. There she is. Look at it. Okay. So, get the camera again. There she is out. I said I had the axle stand underneath to hold the gearbox. Gearbox looks okay from there, straight away. It's as black as what it should be because usually all seeps out. But like when I do an engine build, I usually always look at the gearbox. This probably has never been done, so if it's never been off before, I can guarantee that shaft has never been done. So it's of great importance to me to check the pin and the fork on this clutch. It may be absolutely fine because it's never been out, but we'll always look over it. The exhaust I might have taken off as well, but like, we'll see with that. Other than that, everything is good. But you can see the difference about having the shaft off and taking your dry shaft away, because that gives you so much more room. That's a big one. And again, watch out for the body work, so you can tell if somebody has forced an engine out, because around the body here it'll be all swollen, it'll be all bent and swollen, that they've basically lifted the engine and forced it all the way out and everything, and you can clearly see it. So this is where you should find the marking for the frame, is under all the dirt here. You should see the stamp. Anyway, that's the engine out. I don't see any major issues with it. This is the thing, I don't know, like, you have to take the engine out to do the clutch, and I'm just wondering, was it out at some point to get the clutch done? Like, do you honestly think it's survived, like, since 1974, which will be 50 years, 51, without ever changing the clutch? I don't know if it ever got done. So, we'll see. I know, you can see the engine, and you can see all markings in it. Now, to me, this looks like 49. That looks like a 4, and that looks like a 9. So why 49 is on that is a mystery. There's like an O or a C. So I find that interesting. Obviously I'm going to look for the original markings, and here they are here. So, and I said this in a previous video as well, if you ever see it, is this will tell you what side, what pistons are in it. That one's going to be a little harder to see. But this one, if I look to the side, I see A, B, I don't know. Maybe the first one's back here, but I see A, B, that's for sure. So when it goes and gets a wash, comes back, we'll clean it all up and we'll see. So I know now there's at least an A and a B in there. You can see all the dirt. Yeah. Look at this, actually. There's something interesting. Look at this. This, I didn't do anything with this. And to be honest, it looks like an alien face. If anybody else sees this, it looks like an alien face. The huge thing I'm looking at is, look at here. There is a space that my finger can fit behind on here. That looks like it's being stretched and pulled up as if somebody pulled a manifold this direction. like, or something's going on in here, because the holes line up with the tabs, the dowels, should I say, but this is ripped apart, and that's ripped off, and I know it wasn't me because I just unbolted it and it came off. So, see here. Let me zoom out. Maybe if I zoom in, you can see it. You can see the difference of the gasket. So the gasket stops here, and that's the solid. That's the wall. So that means the exhaust was escaping. But why is this? Look how far it's gone. So something is interesting with this. There's no way I could have caught something on the way out, because that's pretty solid. That's pretty stuck to it. So that's an interesting little thing. I've never seen that before. But all the rest of them look fine. The holes line up with the ports. They're not overlapping except for that one. So something went on there. And even there, you can see the dirt of it. Like, it's pretty consistent here. Even here, look, the gasket is well gone there. So like, I know when I take it apart, but that gasket being gone just allows the air to get in, and that'll make a difference. So, but that's why it's getting the build. So we're going to rectify all that. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Alright, so with that out, we'll strip this down and get ready to bring it to the machine shop. She's going to go get the crank done, she's getting the head done, she's getting the block done, all that jazz. In the meantime, what else we're going to do with the car is we are going to strip the entire wiring harness out, and we're going to put a new wiring loom in. We're also going to remove the windscreen and put a new windscreen in. So I know there's tricks with it. I know Ellen has his video where he uses the string to put it in. I'm not against that whatsoever. I've tried it. It does work, but in fairness to me, and again, it could be based on where you get it from, I found just like using the greasy finger with some soap on it, and it's a little soft, it's actually just as good. So, but we do have a couple of tools to help us. Again, I'm not against the string theory or the string practice. I just find that, I don't know, it's hard to find a good string that fits. So, and then I find when I put it in, it's easier actually just to use your finger and actually just run it along, and it actually works. So, anyway, we'll do that. Other than that, we have new bumpers coming for it. Yes, so we're going to swap out the original bumpers with the overriders, and we're going to get basically the bumpers for the 73, because if anybody's ever gotten the stainless steel ones, you'll realize that you cannot get this bumper in stainless steel. And the reason why is you can only get the early one, which doesn't consist of the overriders, or you can get the later one, which has the lights underneath and not here at top. So because of that, you actually cannot get this one, and this was early 74. So the only one you can't get is that in-between bumper. So it's either late or early. We're going to go with the early ones. So since we're removing the overriders, it won't have the holes anyway. So we're going to go with the 73 style ones. So late 72, all the 73. That's what we're looking at. And that's it. I think we're doing some LEDs on it. What else are we doing with this thing? I'm going to have a look at the brakes. Yeah, I think that's it. So it's mainly the engine and a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, engine, bumpers. We'll have a look at the clutch. We'll see if he wants a new clutch in it. And then we're going to, obviously, the windscreen. And that's it. For now. And it may come back. But for now, that's what's on it. Alright, that's enough of me yapping on. So I'll see you in the next part while we start stripping the engine at least and start getting that ready for the body shop. And we'll see what surprises we find in here. I'm not expecting to find anything unusual. Not expecting to find anything. However, you just never know. Because if you go the thermostat, if that's base by, like, look at it. It's literally siliconed in. Like, I can't even pull it out. I have to get the screwdriver in now and get that in there. Look, it's literally siliconed in. So, and that wasn't someone sealing here in. That was somebody sealing in the thermostat, which me personally, I'm against. I hate silicone in engines. Now, someone might say, hey, that's a good idea because it doesn't leak. But to me, it's not me. All right, that's it. Sorry, the camera have to zoom out. It's wobbling everywhere. Yeah, okay, so see you in the next part, and we'll get this onto the stand once we get the clutch off it, and we'll start stripping it. So see you then. Thanks for watching.